Everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Tear Down Communication Silos with PLM, brought to you by CGS. I'm Heather Thorpe from Just Style, and I'll be emceeing for today's presentation. CGS recently conducted a market survey, and the vast majority of respondents claimed that communication and process visibility was their biggest challenge in managing their daily design, sourcing and production activities. Therefore, today we'll be exploring how your company or organization can improve communication, visibility and agility across in-house and global supply chain operations. We're going to spend around 45 minutes hearing from a cross-industry panel of product design and production experts who are going to be able to share their stories, lessons learned and best practices, followed by a 15-minute Q&A session. If you do have any questions, you can email at the end of the presentation to applications@cgsinc.com. Firstly, a very brief introduction to our sponsor CGS. CGS's Blue Cherry business applications provide clients with a powerful, comprehensive set of tools to drive their fundamental business processes. CGS is sponsoring this webinar because through their engagements with many of the world's most dynamic brands, retailers and manufacturers over the past 30 years, leveraging the right technology platform to overcome strategic and operational challenges has always been a critical component to sustained success. The speakers that we have today are starting with Sasha Stankovich. Sasha is a technical design consultant and currently works with established and startup brands. Our second speaker for today will be Helen Jack. Helen is a market insight consultant for retail and apparel. Helen is passionate about blending big data with market insight to reveal actionable insights which can influence change for better business outcomes. Our third speaker for today will be Molly Rammel. Molly is the Director of Process Improvement at Ellery Homestyles. Molly's role focuses on leadership with a concentration on continuous improvement, growth and support of business solutions and processes. And finally, adding his expert comments for today will be Jason Roth. And Jason is a VP of Applications at Blue Cherry. Jason has over 25 years of operational excellence in the apparel industry and has designed and developed integrated solutions from the ground up. So, before further ado, to kick off today's event, let me pass you to Sasha Stankovich, who will be looking at the necessity of reports. Over to you, Sasha.
Between 7th and 8th Avenue along 38th Street in New York, and then produce your line a few blocks over. Today, the process is sprawled all over the globe. Every aspect of our life changed in a spectacular way because of advances in technology. Fashion business had to keep up, and the transformation is quite remarkable. Not too long ago, patterns were hand-drafted. A technical package consisted of a handwritten cutter's mast and basic spec sheet accompanied by freehand sketches. All these documents were hand-carried to a local factory or faxed overseas in order to make a garment. The process was tedious and time-consuming. Fast forward to modern day, and all of these processes and documents are done electronically in a fraction of the time. Patterns, specs, bill of materials, time and action calendar, all can be stored in one PLM file and can be easily accessed from any part of the world. Embracing technology brings a business to a competitive level. It speeds up and brings visibility to its processes. It gives the workers the tools to be productive and efficient in the modern workplace. With businesses moving quicker, both management and users require instant, accurate data to understand where everything is in the life cycle. Every business is looking for productive methods of communication. The solution is to utilize PLM systems that generate targeted reports. Instead of spending endless hours in meetings, going through every style and work, Targeted PLM-generated reports allow department heads manage by exception, focusing on outstanding issues. Communication between departments becomes more purposeful. The reports also make it easier and faster to distribute the workload, basing decisions on integrated time and action calendar. The flow of information between departments for PLM usage allows for real-time visibility, anytime, anywhere, and on any device. It is such a pleasure to have everything you need at your fingertips, especially when you work at a 5-story production facility that runs multiple lines, and no longer needing to lug paper spec sheets that inevitably will be lost on production floor. Having an accurate and reliable source of information is great. And this brings me to the next point of this discussion. Any system is only as good as the information you put in it. Therefore, it is vital to properly train users so they can utilize PLM to its full potential. This is the only way we can add real value of reporting. In a fast-paced environment, having visibility into up-to-date data allows the workforce to react quickly to changes and prioritize the work accordingly. This is actionable intelligence that does improve overall business performance. Business demands quick and accurate execution, and the important thing is to have a PLM solution that is a flexible tool that helps increase productivity and information flow between departments throughout the life cycle. Having said that, the processes should not impact creativity. The fashion business is live and constantly changing organism. An accurate and up-to-date reports become a necessity. It is a tool for a user to get information needed to complete a project. It is a tool for a manager to be proactive rather than reactive when running day-to-day operations. Flexible system and users who understand how to use the system are critical elements for success. PLM solution ties up all processes, starting with development all the way through production and distribution. PLM allows broad visibility into the entire life, and reporting allows zeroing in on a specific area. The gains are tremendous. Fewer errors, better communication between departments, increased productivity. All of this ends up saving an incredible amount of man-hours and creates productive workforce and cost savings.
Many thanks, Sasha. Now I'd like to introduce you to our second panelist for today, and that's Helen Jack. Helen will be sharing her thoughts and experiences with you regarding improving consumer experience with PLM.
Hi, thanks for introducing me there. I'm going to talk to you about how PLM can help the consumer and put the consumer at the heart of the organisation so that we can be truly consumer and customer centric. And the retailers who do that will be the ones who'll win in today's competitive marketplace. There's few constants in the fashion industry. It's one of the reasons we're all involved in it. It's fast-paced, ever-changing. And the version we see of it today bears very little resemblance to that of a decade ago, and is likely to change even more in the decade ahead. One of the biggest changes has been the way we buy clothing. Distance selling is nothing new, but has been dwarfed by the growth of online clothing sales. In 2014, clothing and footwear sales in the UK topped around £6.4 billion. And by 2018, this will have grown, or is predicted to grow, by another 47% to £9.4 billion. Now, proportionally, the most attractive segment within this is women's clothing. And that's because around 20% of sales are placed online. And if you look at this by age band, it rises to 24% for the under 40 age group, but is slightly lower for the over 50 age group at 17%. Now, the growth of online is slowing. We've all seen that. But clearly, the over 50 age group has some way to go yet, and will clearly have some more growth in there over the next few years. It all means that the traditional business model has been redefined, creating a new multi-channel experience for consumers. And they are responding by being more demanding, expecting better service, and wanting ever more information, not only about the products they buy, but also about the companies they buy from. And it's the younger consumers who are far more demanding than their older counterparts. And to respond, retailers need to deliver a consistent and personalised experience across all channels. Examples of this play out repeatedly in all the consumer research I've ever been involved in. And the two key things that customers talk about is being able to see the stock that's available for them in their size and in the styles that are going to suit them and fit them. It's been the biggest bugbear across all age groups that I've ever spoken to. And that key element of being able to find the true fit and the styles that suit them is one of the hardest things that customers find online. But being able to respond quickly and responsively to these stock queries and providing that personalised service gets results. For example, at Long Tall Sally, their PLM system allows a customer who goes into store, she's maybe looking for a pair of trousers in her size, her colour, to be united with what she needs. The fact that the trousers she wants are in Germany doesn't interest her, but the fact that it being delivered within a few days keeps her loyal. And what I find particularly interesting about this case is that Long Tall Sally, by its very nature of providing clothing for tall women, has really loyal customers. It's one of the only places that they can buy clothes from. But what they're achieving by this extra added personal service, linking people with the stock available, is achieving a super loyal follower. A newfound focus on global value change within the industry means that we're focused less on a build it here and sell it there approach. An industry is focusing more on in the world, for the world, driven by a commercial imperative to see potential to innovate, manufacture and service goods, and to do so in a global integrated manner. However, my key message is to highlight my thoughts on the biggest opportunity for PLM, to go beyond the clear front-end benefits that we all know, but to put the consumer at the heart of the organisation, to provide a great customer experience. This means offering more visibility on stock, better service and compliance, as well as traceability. All the information the consumer wants is already contained in the PLM system. But what if that data is linked to the marketing communication of the product, so that the customer can see in a language that she can understand more detail, more information about that product, and importantly, as I've said, about the fit and the style of that product. I'll explain in more detail what I mean on the next slide. Customers today are far more empowered. The internet allows us to do far more searches for and buy fashion from all over the world. A customer can look into detail into each of the products that she's looking at. And actually, the internet has slowed down the buying process, not quickened it as we all thought it might. But if a consumer wants to buy a jacket from the collaboration between the ski brand Burton and Gwen Stefani's label Lamb, it's easy. A simple search to locate a stockist and buy it. She's no need to wait for any of the UK retailers to buy into that look. She's far more empowered in getting what she wants. And instant gratification is another trend changing the dynamics, as consumers look to receive goods as they want them. And no more is this played out than by Next. In all their marketing communication, their midnight order time for next day delivery is their key marketing message, linking again that stock to the consumer in quick time. And it has been for them a significant influence on their online and overall market share. Through a product's life cycle, the amount of data attributed to each item is vast and complex. Managing that data needs a great system to be able to connect that info to the consumer with real-time visibility of inventory and eliminating the need to re-enter data at the point of purchase online, for example. And I've seen that ever so often within companies that I've worked at, where the original design and then what ends up being talked about is vastly different. And therefore collaborating between departments will turn results into better customer experience. If we work in silos with the buying and merchandising function disconnected from the marketing of product, the truth or the real details about the product will be lost, and the consumer feels less engaged. PLM gives us the opportunity to connect the dots from a designer's initial vision of what she wants that garment to look like, who she's targeting, the style of the garment, and importantly then, the fit of the garment. And I mentioned earlier that consumers' feedback that this is one of the hardest parts of selecting a product online. How's it going to look on them? How's the styling going to work? And how's it going to fit? And as I've said, that information is all contained within the PLM system. And I think, Jason, you've got a few ideas on how PLM can join the dots.
Yeah, really what the conceptual part is of a PLM system, and as it expanded over the years, collaboration has become more important from the beginning of time of a concept through its planning, through its merchandising, now incorporating sourcing, through its product development, its CAD/CAM, all the way down to the purchasing and inventory concepts out to the consumer, utilizing some newer features as plugins into the AI worlds, digital asset management, web-based vendor portaling, purchasing, sample tracking, costing, manufacturing specifications, purchasing, and workflow. All of these components pull you out of the old silo world and into a real collaborative environment.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So in summary, really, what I wanted to highlight was that PLM can help you put the customer at the heart of the organization by delivering that better customer experience, by pulling all those different threads that Jason just mentioned and I've said all the way through, all into one place. By using that data that's available in the system about the product, it creates a more engaged and loyal buyer. The two key areas that I think should be focused on here is, and the two that irritate the customer the most, is that stock availability in their size and helping them select the best fit to suit them. The future success or failure of your business depends in large part on being able to respond to the changing consumer, the market, and competitive pressures with agile systems. And those retailers who truly engage with their consumers will win in today's ever-increasingly competitive market. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. That's great. We'll now hear from Molly Rammel of Ellery Homestyles. So welcome, Molly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Rammel. I'm the Director of Process Improvement for Ellery Homestyles. We are a home textiles wholesaler with sourcing offices in China, India, and Pakistan. We have internal design teams as well as work with our retail partners, their design teams and product development teams to produce home textiles such as bedding, comforters, deck pillows, curtains, throws, and shower curtains. So I'm here today to tell you a little bit about how PLM actually does deliver and a little bit about a case study with our own company on life without PLM and the benefits of working with it and kind of the metrics and what we gained after implementing a PLM system. So I will start with telling you firstly about the before picture, challenges of life without PLM. So before we implemented a PLM system, we had a lot of time-consuming data entry. Our tech packs were in the version of Excel, and we were emailing them back and forth with our sourcing teams in China, India, and Pakistan. there was a lot of miscommunication with our overseas offices, in that maybe you would send the tech pack over and then all of the communication would go into email and the tech pack would never be updated. Then when that tech pack actually, or that item went to production, the finalized item, since the tech pack was out of date, we would start with pre-production and the sample would look nothing like what the customer is actually ordering. It would create longer timelines. It would create a lot of confusion. We had a lot of bumps and hurdles just in leaving people off of email chains, or someone being sick or being on vacation and things sitting there without being actioned when they should have been. So we had a lot of time spent working around poor visibility, trying to figure out when those mistakes were made, what caused those mistakes to be made in itself was a very time-consuming task. When we missed the sample deadline and our management team would come to us and say, why did we miss the sample timeline, we would have to dredge back through 10 to 15 emails and figure out what went wrong, which would take another 4 hours out of the day, missing other opportunities and timelines and deadlines that we should be focusing in on. So it was a lot of really deep data entry, a lot of missed opportunities, and because of that, it was longer cycle timelines. At that time, our cycle timelines, when we ordered a sample, it took about 2.5 months to get back. So we were really kind of taking the slow route on everything. Everything felt like it was, nothing was easy, and like we were really working hard to try to win some business. We completely lacked reporting, and the reporting that we did have on sample ETAs and on costs were manual logs in Excel that pretty much as soon as you created them, they were out of date because somebody else was requesting samples or somebody else was requesting RFQs. And then users would ask themselves, well, do I have the most updated RFQ? Do I have the right price? Am I costing this correctly? And when management, again, would come to one of the users and say, you know, what's the price on this, or what's the cost on this, or what's the duty rate on this, or what's the sample ETA, it would take a user 2 hours to dig through emails or look at the sample log and find out that the ETA wasn't there. So we were really struggling and trying to grow this business as fast as we possibly could. So what we really knew was we needed something to help us manage our development and production, something to aid us in building better communication with our sourcing offices. We had a lot of talented people that were working a lot of long hours for very little results. And we needed a system that would do some of that work for us, that would think for us, that would organize for us, and take some of that manual process out of it. So what we did, and if we can go ahead to the next slide, we started looking for a system that could scale with us, that could do some of that communication for us and aid us in that process. And what we did was, after we implemented, we really found that our communication improved tenfold. We created customized reports focusing users in on what they needed to see, and we even prioritized it for them. Not just a full listing of all the outstanding samples that are out there, but we prioritized them, which ones are coming next. We separated those reports by division, so the vetting team doesn't need to see what the WIO team sees, and the designers don't need to see what the product coordinators need to see. We really wanted to lessen the amount of emails that the team was getting. Instead of coming in the morning to an inbox of 250 emails with individual product issues or things that needed response to, or maybe things that didn't need any response to but were FYIs, what we did was we automated these reports, and they get one email with all of the information for any sample that is ordered and in process. And that kind of allows them to bring those reports to their work in progress meetings, their WIP meetings, and quickly answer management when they say, what's the ETA or what's the cost for this? It really streamlines things. It takes a lot of pressure off of them to feel like they have to keep everything in their head or keep manual logs. All of that is done and automated for them. And because of that, we saw deeper collaboration with our supply chain partners. They have those same automated lists, so they know what is on request. Our tech packs are now streamlined and customized per division because each division is different. So our factories now get the sense that they understand what we're requesting, they understand what they're supposed to make, and if that changes, then the tech pack changes, and they are expected to update those changes as well and produce a different sample based on the requests that are also on their automated reports. All of that's done for them, and because of the new organizational structure that this software created, we're definitely getting this sense from our partners that they want to work with us even more because we have our stuff together now. We're organized, we're managing it better, and our teams are communicating better because of it. So also because of the deeper collaboration with our supply chain partners, we've produced vendor audits. So for the first time since we're tracking all of our sample ETAs, all of our costs, all of our handling, lab dips, and strike-offs, we're able to take that data and essentially create vendor scorecards off of it. So, and off of those vendor scorecards, we actually created an annual vendor summit where we go overseas and we meet with all of our vendor partners. We tell them these are our new processes that we are expected to follow. This is how you did this year in delivering on production timelines, on pre-production samples, on development samples. This is how you compare with other vendors relative to cost and relative to delivery timelines and lead times and MOQs. We now all of a sudden had all this data that we felt would be very valuable to share with them. And because of that, they're able to clearly see how they can win more of our business, build a longer and deeper partnership with them. We have suddenly reporting and analytical benefits that we've never had before and that we were really hungry to get. These were things that before PLM we really knew that we needed, but it was so time-consuming to get your hands around it. So with reporting, we've really removed the word treasure hunt from our vocabulary, kind of digging around and finding out when things are due, when they're coming, if there's an issue. We've removed the negative surprise from our daily activity. So since everything is automated and everything is communicated a little bit better and everything's going through the system, if we know that we can't hit a sample timeline or if we know we can't hit that cost, we know it immediately and we're able to come up with a plan B, or we're able to kind of course correct and tell the customer or suggest different fabrications or different ways to produce the design that they're looking for. And that I think is really beneficial. Reporting is something that we need in order to grow the business. And I think, Jason, you've got a couple of new reporting items that you wanted to talk about here.
Yeah, I think the key is really now, since we're integrating that front end, as Molly's talking about, and getting that communication and collaboration, really the key now is onto the back ends of the process is to start integrating the regulatory compliance and getting true AQL quality assurance inside the applications. So you have full visibility not only to the front end process, the communications now that we're shortening the timelines for quicker to market to get the information out, is to ensure that we hold up quality and also regulatory compliance so that doesn't incumbent truly when it gets to the client or the customer itself that we're still not meeting those levels that we want to try to accomplish just because we shorten the timelines. We don't want to squelch on our quality side of it. So having the vendors online, getting their reporting, as Molly said, getting better scorecarding and quality audits from a product side, and really putting solutions, mobile-based solutions, web-based solutions in the hands of our vendors and our agents, so that information is now into one environment. So when you're looking at a true vendor, you're not just looking at, timely to market and how quickly you got the product there, but how do we meet our regulatory compliances from an AQL level, and how do we truly meet it from a quality audit standpoint of our measurement, our specifications.
And I can't speak enough to the piece where Jason's talking to the vendor portal and having a piece of the system where it's really integrating your offices and your vendors into your PLM system. Previously, before integrating their current PLM system, we had one prior to, and the problem was that we integrated a system that did not have that piece. And what we found was we didn't get the reporting tools, and we didn't quite get rid of all the manual data entry, because you would write via email about a tech pack that was custom and systematized. but you would write an email and then that tech pack would never get updated. Now having this portal, what we did first and foremost, since we have sourcing offices, was we launched it with our offices first. And then after, we got it online and everything was smoothed out with our offices, we launched it with our factories. And that brought a whole new level. Not only do our vendors see us as somebody that is advancing with technology and being new and innovative, but we're sharing information. They're able to service themselves. If they need a new tech pack or if they want to enter in the ETA themselves, they do all of that, and our office doesn't. They monitor it and oversee it. But our factories, they like to work one-on-one. They like to have that information at their fingertips. And it's all protected by roles, and they can only see what we want them to see, a type of scenario. So it's all safe and protected, but at the end of the day, knowledge is power for every single person in this chain when you're trying to please the customer. And so at the end of the day, our sample timelines have been cut from 2.5 months to 2.5 weeks. And all of that is based on better communication and more organization and management of our processes because of this software. So overall, with the measurable results after implementing PLM, speed to market, I've spoke to this already, but we're faster, we're more confident, and we're able to capture more of the opportunities that are put in front of us. No customer wants to wait 2.5 months for a sample. Those days are long gone. 2.5 weeks or less at this point, and they can expect a sample to their spec that's ready, that has costing information, everything organized, tagged, delivered to them, and ready to go. Our efficiency is up 100%. We've removed data entry and manual logs completely. Long gone are the days where users come into 250 emails and dread going into a meeting because they're petrified of how high that number is going to get when they go back to their desk. We've got them focused, we've got them streamlined, and therefore there's 1,000 product development hours saved. The late nights and the weekends are a thing of the past. And productivity is up 30%. Our teams are more efficient, they communicate faster, and as a result, they feel closer together. There may be continents dividing them, but they're much closer and work together as a team to problem solve and really try to troubleshoot some of the issues that come up in the daily activity. Because of all of the things that I listed above, we've experienced multi-million-dollar revenue growth. We've capitalized and built our customer matrix. They've got confidence in us. Our customers have confidence in us that they've never had before. They see that we consistently hit these deadlines, that we consistently have competitive pricing. And they see us, as our factories have seen us as well. We're now seen industry-wide as a partnership that you want to grow, a long-term vendor that you want to be involved with. And all of that comes down to that real-time visibility and being able to course correct and being able to kind of see where your shortcomings are from a factory standpoint, from a process standpoint, and from a customer relationship standpoint. So what's next for us? Even better usage of PLM. So we've kind of taken it completely through a sourcing realm. And what we're working on now is actually building communication with our warehouse in DC. We're working on uploading information that we previously didn't have in the system, mother-child SKU information, product dimensions and carton dimensions, and final packaging specs, and working in conjunction with graphic design to get them into the system, to put information in earlier so that we can really communicate even better. But we're working on communicating to a different department now. So with that in play, we've got a deeper partnership on roadmap and new features. I want to say a deeper partnership, but it's one that's always been there. We have a great support in our software provider. They're innovative partners, and we know that they'll take us to the next level in whatever we need. One of the big things that we're focusing in on right now is with R&D cost reductions. We went over and negotiated all these great new prices. Now we've got to figure out how to update them. We don't want to do it manually, so we're working with our software partner to develop and add to the current upload tools so that we can upload spreadsheets and make that a seamless task so that team members aren't spending days and weeks uploading some of the new cost negotiations that we worked through. And I think it's so important communication-wise. I think I've spoke to that on multiple levels with your factories, with your customers, with your software partner, making sure that you're on your same page and that they can communicate with you as you need to grow the business.
Fantastic. Right. Well, thank you very much for that, Molly. That was great, and I hope that some of your questions have been answered during the presentation today. We do have some questions to put to our panelists just while we're in the Q&A session for the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. So if anybody else has any questions, please do send them through onto the questions section. First of all, let's have a look, see what we've got. Okay, this is probably better for Jason, actually, if I go to you, Jason.
Okay.
This is a question. It says, if this PLM software does everything from inspiration to customer, there is no need for an ERP system. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's where you're seeing a lot of, the process kind of going, is now that you have, most systems have finally figured out PDM, true PDM, have figured out how to integrate these silos. You're having now the issue of pulling in planning, sourcing, delivery into the PLM process, so you're starting earlier, and then on the outer side of it, you're getting an end-to-end view of it. So I see a lot more of the features and functions of a PLM being integrated into that solution versus being into these standalone ERP silos.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. I hope that answers the question. Here's another technical side question for you, Jason. An older PDM or PLM product would have typically handled less than 10 product development processes, and a modern solution is now expected to offer support for between 40 and 50. With additional core and extended PLM processes being added at a growing rate, how do you see PLM technology evolving over the next couple of years?
You're really seeing it just to meld into what I was saying just earlier, kind of the same concept, is really now broadening out the scope of your PDM, now considered PLM, into the workflow environment, looking at more vendor standalone kind of components, looking at integrating your CAD/CAM tools into that, your Illustrator tools, getting more of the people involved in the process. So when you're doing your development timelines, they're not just from the initial concept, but they're all the way backed up into the planning, sourcing, and delivery parts of the process. And really looking at, from a technology standpoint, is really not just incorporating them into integrating those tools, but actually having those tools built into one solution versus onto the outside and all of those interfaces that you're having.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, this next question I think is better for Molly to answer, if that's okay. I've got this question here. In your PLM selection, did you follow a particular set of guidelines to ensure that both management and users bought into the PLM vision?
So I spoke briefly to us having a PLM system. We went from Excel Tech Packs to having a PLM system to implementing another PLM system. The first system that we implemented, we didn't do a great job in speaking to the users and making sure that the team really knew the processes and that we outlined them correctly, that we knew what we were actually doing. There's a saying around here that, do you actually know what you think you do? And that being, if you ask somebody what they do for their job every day, are they going to give the same answer as management thinks that they do? There are processes that users tweak. There are things that they streamline on their own. And I think that the concept overall, when we went out to select the first vendor, we weren't quite sure what those processes were. We were really kind of all over the board. So when we went in for the second implementation, what we did was we chose a group of core users of 5 or 6 users. Management went out and chose a couple different vendors. Once they said, okay, they can scale, they're big enough, we feel like this tool would work, did all of the technical and business requirements. We then brought those 3 solutions to the users, and the users then had demos with each of those companies, and we're able to sit there for hours and grill them and ask them questions and kind of really what that did was we got the users buy-in from the very beginning, and we got their support from the very beginning. And we also made sure that we had a dedicated project manager from that team that was focusing on this project, kind of giving them voice, that worked on it full-time and made sure that the execution was there and that we really work for the users of the system.
Great, thanks for that, Molly. I've got another question here, which I don't know whether this might be for you, Molly, or whether Jason can help with this one. Do your suppliers connect directly into your PLM system, or do you push information to a site which they can access through a web portal?
Yeah, I can take that. It's a combination. There's information that is real-time and online, but everything is pushed through what we call a collaborative portal. And that collaborative portal gets pushed out, all of your tech packs, all of your RFQs, your communications, and then that is actually integrated back into your core PLM application. And it all depends on your security and rights that you're giving to the vendors and to your agents, if it's real time or if it's actually sitting on the portal. The majority of the customers that we see, as in Molly, that's real time information up and down, just using the portal as a more of a secure platform, web-based, that they can actually update, get their information, and download the information they need for more of a communication platform.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, I've got another one come in here. If a company were looking for an ERP system as well as PLM, do you believe they should consider a vendor that has established products in both areas, seamless integration, or look at best of breed? That's an interesting one.
Molly, you want to take that?
Can you repeat that one more time?
If a company were looking for an ERP system as well as a PLM system, do you believe they should consider a vendor that has established products in both areas that have seamless integration, or is it best to look at best of breed solutions?
I think when you're looking for a PLM and an ERP system, one or the other, you're considering both products, you should look at both. I know that a lot of companies kind of have their bread and butter, but you really have to look at, and then they also have some companies that are kind of expanding into ERP or expanding into PLM. I think you have to look at both and look at your business and see what's going to serve you best. I think a lot of people have mastered kind of the bolt-on hurdle for a lot of things, but for us, I know that we looked at both. One of the things that we looked at, this was years ago, not years ago, it was 2 or 3 years ago. We looked at a company that had great ERP because we knew that we would have to potentially replace our ERP in the next 5 to 10 years. And I know that we're happy that we did because it does make that decision and those platforms speaking to each other a lot easier. That being said, you know, if you're looking at somebody that has a great ERP and you want PLM and they just don't have what you need, then you need to look other places.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, now I've got a question for Sasha, I think, here. Please could you expand on the type of reports available that have a direct impact on design, effectiveness, and productivity? Sasha, can you help with that one?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you what reports I worked on. And generally, the reports fall in 2 categories. First one, if it's a style-specific report that is a depository of all information and style evolution from design stage to final production. And pretty much every PLM solution that is out there has this built in to some degree. Some are better, some are worse, but this is necessary to run your business. And what's good about it when it's done right, to Molly's point, when changes occur, you need to relay this information to everyone involved, and you can communicate only the portion that was changed. There's no need to work with entire life cycle of a style. The second type of reporting, which I think are necessary nowadays and age, it's a status reporting. And the status reporting can be run by user, and user can select the criteria. For example, you can run a status report by delivery date, or by a fit approval date, or fabric approval status. and some systems have it, some don't, and I actually work with developers on creating these reports. So each report addresses a specific business need. Hope that helps.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you. Okay, we've got a question, I think, for Helen. I feel like you're being left out of it here, so come on, Helen. Should companies be placing more emphasis on their ability to tie pre-sale, sell-through consumer retail data, and market analysis back to individual designs to align more closely with consumer requirements?
Yeah, one of the things that I feel there's a real miss is matching that big data with small data, getting to the heart of what the consumer, their attitudes to what they want, and their actual physical size and shape, and understanding that and getting it into the right at the front end of the process, even before you've started designing the product, I think is well worth doing. So what I mean by that is finding out from customers exactly what size and shape they are, their height, the details of their type of shape, and then designing right from the front end the garments that will suit that shape. If you do that, you then are able to put the right kind of product in front of the individual customer, providing a really personalised service. And you're going to sell more because you're designing specifically for that target customer base that you've got. So I feel like taking all that market view of the size and shape of people, there's loads of data available in 3D scanners, finding your exact consumer, your target consumer, their size, their shape, and designing to that size and shape will end up creating a range through, and using the entire PLM system then to manage that entire stock flow will then end up with very, very happy consumers, because finding garments that fit them is the holy grail for them.
Isn't it just? I'm completely with you on that one. Okay, finally, I've got a question here that I think could be Molly or Jason, actually. How do companies tend to deal with implementing PLM systems, and how does the implementation process impact on overall business performance?
I'm going to let Molly take that since she's had to go through it.
How do companies tend to deal with it? I mean, they deal with it in all different ways. The right way, at least for our company, was including the users in the business decision. Again, was taking it from a higher level and making sure that, yes, the software vendor fits the bill for everything that the business needs, but then also make sure that the users buy into it. Make sure that they feel included in the process, the selection process. Make sure they feel included as you're building the new processes, because all of this is really about implementation in general, is about change management. It's about efficiencies, but it's about getting people to buy into those efficiencies and buying into the new processes that you've created. There's nothing worse than an implementation where at the very end, all of a sudden the users are hit with a bunch of processes that don't work for them, that aren't really going to make any efficiencies. If you leave them out of it, that's what you're going to end up with. So it's got to have that buy-in. And as soon as you do, I think you'll find that they'll follow along a lot better, and you'll see the results quicker because of it.
Thanks for that, Molly. Well, I think we've just about covered all the questions that we've got for today. I've still got some more that I'm going to send on. I'm yet to decipher a couple. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today.